History is not written by the victorious, it is written by the survivors. And sometimes, the smallest change, a birth, a name, a place, is enough to rewrite everything. In the internment zone of Liberio, behind walls built not to keep Titans out, but to keep Eldians in, a different version of the Yeager bloodline takes its first breath. The year is 819, the hatred is the same, the armbands are the same, but the child born into that hatred is not. Grisha Yeager and Dina Fritz hold their newborn son in a cramped apartment on the eastern edge of the zone. Dina carries the blood of the Fritz royal family and the bloodline that once commanded the founding Titan and shaped the world in its image. Grisha carries the conviction of a man who watched his sister fed to dogs by Marleyan soldiers. Together they name the boy Eren, and in doing so, they light a fuse that will take 35 years to reach the powder. Every night, after the patrols pass, Grisha locks the door and teaches his son the real history of Eldia. Not the Marleyan version, where Eldians are devils. The other version, complicated, ugly, but true. Dina tells Eren about the founding Titan and the king, who abandoned his people across the sea. And Eren listens with clenched fists and a furnace behind his eyes that will never go out. 16 years later and an ocean away, a different kind of Yeager wakes up to the sound of birds. The year is 835, Shiganshina district. A boy named Zeke sits at the breakfast table, reading. He's 5 years old, and he already prefers books to wooden swords. He doesn't chase the other children through the streets. He watches them from the window and wonders why they run in circles, when they always end up back where they started. A thinker in a world that doesn't yet know it, needs one. Carla leans against the kitchen door frame, watching Zeke trace his finger along a page. She doesn't know what he's reading, she doesn't care. She just sees a boy who is healthy and curious and loved. "You're already special," she tells him one morning, unprompted, setting his plate down. "You don't have to do anything to earn it, just existing is enough." Zeke blinks at her, confused. He files the words away without understanding them. He won't understand them for years. But when the world has burned around him and he's standing in the ashes, those words will be the only thing left standing. Meanwhile, Grisha works as a physician in Shiganshina, hiding a locked basement beneath his home. He carries the attack Titan, given to him by Eren Kruger on the shores of Paradis. He carries a mission: steal the founding Titan, save Eldia. And he carries a guilt that bends his spine. Because he lost one family by making them soldiers, he won't do it again. He'll keep Zeke safe, keep him innocent, keep him loved. That's the plan, at least. Plans don't survive contact with a 60-meter Titan. In Liberio, the Eldian restorationists meet in basements and back alleys. Grisha is their leader. Dina is their symbol. And Eren, now 13, has been accepted into Marley's warrior program, a mole planted by his parents, though he doesn't see it that way. He volunteered, not out of obedience, but because this is his war. Every day, Eren stands at the edge of the internment zone and watches the Marleyan soldiers on the other side of the checkpoint. They laugh, they eat, they walk freely through streets that Eldians need permits to cross. One of them carries his daughter on his shoulders, pointing at shop windows. Eren watches. His expression doesn't change, but his hands, hidden in his pockets, are clenched so tight his nails have drawn blood. He doesn't hate the soldier, he doesn't hate the daughter. He hates the architecture of a world that decided one of them deserves to laugh and the other deserves an armband. And every day the fire grows a little colder and a little sharper. It happens on a Tuesday. The worst days always start like normal ones. Marleyan security forces surround the restorationist meeting point at dawn. Someone has talked. Doors are kicked in. The families dragged from beds. Grisha and Dina are seized while Eren is at the warrior barracks. They bring Eren into an interrogation room. White walls, metal chair. A Marleyan officer sits across from him with a folder thick enough to kill an insect. "Your parents are traitors. You knew. Confirm what we know, and you keep your place in the program. You keep your life." Eren stares at him. "I don't know what you're talking about." The officer shows photographs, meetings, dead drops, his mother's handwriting on a coded letter. Last chance, boy. Unlike Canon Zeke, who betrayed his parents to survive, Eren's mouth stays shut. The idea of buying his life with his parents' blood doesn't exist inside him. The circuit doesn't connect. The ships carry the condemned to Paradis. Grisha, Dina, dozens of restorationists, shackled and stumbling across the sand. One by one, they are injected with Titan spinal fluid. One by one, they fall from the wall. One by one, they transform, bodies expanding, eyes going empty, screams twisting into something that isn't quite a voice anymore. Just before Grisha's turn, the officer overseeing the executions removes his hat and calmly pushes his fellow officers off the edge. My name is Eren Kruger. The restorationists know me as the Owl. I hold the attack Titan, and my time is almost up. But Kruger acted too late to save everyone. Dina has already been injected, already pushed. The smiling Titan rises on the beach, 14 meters tall, frozen grin, eyes vacant. Royal blood makes her an abnormal. And somewhere inside the empty corridors of that Titan's mind, something survives. A pull. A gravity that has nothing to do with hunger. She walks for years, across sand flats, through forests, past abandoned towns. The other pure Titans wander in circles. Dina walks in a straight line. She doesn't know why. She can't know why. But the royal blood in her veins pulls her toward the walls where Grisha now lives with a new wife, a new son, and a basement full of secrets. On the wall, Kruger tells Grisha everything. The 9 Titans. The king's vow. What must be done. His arm is wasted, deep into the 13-year curse. Go inside the walls. Find the founding Titan. Steal it. Save Mikasa and Armin. Who are Mikasa and Armin? Kruger pauses. The attack, Titan's curse and gift. Future memories bleeding backward. I don't know. Whose memories are these? Grisha devours his savior. The power passes. The mission begins. Back in Liberio, the tribunal is brief. The boy is a warrior candidate. More importantly, he carries Fritz's royal blood, too valuable to waste on a wall in Paradis. Eren is returned to the barracks with a handler and the implicit understanding that his life now belongs to the state. He puts on the uniform. He salutes. He says the right words. And behind his eyes, the furnace burns. A week later, his handler delivers the news. Your parents were processed at the Paradis Island facility. Standard procedure. Processed. Standard procedure. As if they were paperwork. That night, alone in the dark, Eren bites into his pillow until his jaw aches. He doesn't cry, he doesn't scream. He just shakes. He is 14 years old, and the last bridge between him and the world has burned. The next morning, his eyes are dry. His posture is straight. Something has crystallized. The anger that was hot and reactive has cooled into something harder, denser, more patient. He no longer wants to fight Marley. He wants to end the entire architecture of a world that separates people into masters and cattle. He will inherit a Titan. He will become Marley's greatest weapon. And then, he will turn it around. 13 years of peace inside the walls. Soldiers getting fat. Children growing up believing the walls have always stood and always will. The year is 845. Zeke is 10 years old, reading about geology on the front steps. And then a bolt of lightning strikes outside Wall Maria, with a sound too deep, too sustained, like the earth itself screaming. Rising above the wall, its skinless face steaming in the afternoon sun, is a Titan, 60 meters tall. The colossal Titan kicks the gate, and the world Zeke knew ends. The boulder hits the house across the street. The family inside doesn't have time to scream. Zeke is thrown backward by the shockwave. Through the dust, Titans are pouring through the breach. 3 meter, 7 meter, 10 meter. Lumbering, reaching, grabbing. Then he hears his mother's voice. Zeke, run! The house is half collapsed. Carla is pinned beneath a beam. Zeke grabs it. Pulls. It doesn't move. Mikasa pulls beside him, strong for her age, inhumanly strong, but the beam is oak and weighs more than both children combined. The ground shakes. The smiling Titan rounds the corner. 14 meters, that strange, purposeful gait. She stops in front of the Yeager house, looks down at Carla, and something that isn't recognition, but isn't nothing, passes across her face. The Titan reaches down with a gentleness that makes it worse. Carla is lifted from the rubble. She's covering her mouth, trying to stop the sobs, because she doesn't want the last thing her son hears to be her screaming. "Don't watch," she mouths. Zeke watches. He sees the jaw open. He sees the light leave her eyes, and his face goes still in a way far more disturbing than any scream. Something clicks into a different gear, a wall going up inside his mind, just as tall and thick as the ones that are supposed to protect them. He observes the Titan's jaw mechanics, the steam, the way the other Titans ignore this one, as if it operates on a different frequency. He catalogs this. He doesn't mean to. It just happens. Because grief is an ocean, and Zeke has decided to study the water instead of drowning in it. Why that Titan? Why his mother? Why did it walk past a dozen other people to reach this house? The questions will haunt him. The answers, when they come, will be worse. Hannes arrives at a dead sprint, garrison soldier, technically trained, functionally a day drinker. He grabs Zeke under one arm and Mikasa under the other. Mikasa fights. "Let me go. We have to help her." "She's gone," Hannes shouts, voice cracking. "She's gone, and I'm not losing you too." Behind them, the armored Titan charges through the inner gate. 5 years of territory lost in a single afternoon. 3 days later, Grisha finds his son in the camps. Zeke is sitting against a wall, knees to his chest, watching refugees with that calm expression. Mikasa beside him, awake, alert, guarding. Grisha kneels. "Zeke, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Mom is dead." "Yes." The Titan that killed her was different from the others. Grisha's face changes. Recognition, horror, before he can hide it. He knows exactly which Titan killed Carla. He knows the smile. "Come with me. There's something I have to do." The forest is dark. Grisha has already been to the Rice Chapel. He fought Frida Rice. He killed the family. He ate Frida and consumed the founding Titan. Now he carries 3 things: the attack Titan, the founding Titan, and a guilt so heavy it has bent his spine. He turns to face his son and memorizes his face, seeing Carla in him, seeing himself, seeing the future. This will hurt, and I'm sorry that power and burden are the same thing. The needle enters. Zeke's body erupts. A pure Titan rises in the clearing, mindless, hungry. Its hand reaches for the only human nearby. Grisha doesn't run. He opens his arms. "Take it. Take everything. And be better than I was." The Titan collapses. Steam rises. From the nape, a boy falls to the forest floor. Naked, gasping, clawing at the dirt. 10 years old. Orphaned. Holding the attack Titan and the founding Titan inside a body too small to understand what it carries. The founding Titan, the coordinate, the power to command all Titans, reshape Eldian biology, end the world, or save it. Locked behind a royal blood requirement Zeke cannot meet alone, but free from the pacifist vow that made it useless in royal hands. 2 powers, 1 boy, no instruction manual. Morning mist. Zeke sits against a tree, turning a brass key in his hands. He doesn't remember the transformation, the consumption, all buried behind blocked memory. He just knows his mother is dead, his father is gone, and this key fits a door in a house that no longer belongs to humanity. He walks back toward the camps. Mikasa is waiting at the edge of the forest, as if she knew exactly where to look. She doesn't ask what happened, she just falls into step beside him. 5 years pass. In Liberio, Eren has become something that frightens even the people who trained him. Top combat performer. Every evaluation carries the same note. Exceptional capability, concerning disregard for authority. He spars with Reiner and puts him on the ground in 4 seconds. He outpaces Annie in endurance. The other candidates respect him, fear him, or avoid him, sometimes all three. When Savor's 13 years expire, the Beast Titan passes to Eren. His royal blood amplifies everything. In a controlled test, Eren screams in beast form for the first time. 15 Eldians dosed with his spinal fluid transform simultaneously, and instead of stumbling, confused pure Titans, they snap to attention. They form a line. They wait for orders. The head researcher marks the report with a single word, circled twice. Unprecedented. A king among monsters. And the monsters obey. On Paradis, Zeke enrolls in the 104th Training Corps and rises through the ranks, not through force, but through spatial awareness and quiet strategy. Commandant Shadis screams in his face on the first day. Zeke adjusts his glasses and asks if the Commandant could clarify the tactical objective, because the briefing was contradictory. Shadis stares at him for 3 seconds, turns, and walks away. Mikasa's bond with Zeke is different from canon. Less desperate orbit. We're more equal partnership. She respects his mind, she trusts his judgment. She doesn't need to protect him from himself because Zeke isn't reckless enough to require it. Armin gravitates to him like iron to a magnet. Two brilliant minds in a world that rewards muscle. Their conversations last hours. Armin's wonder meeting Zeke's methodology. Where Armin dreams about the ocean, Zeke wonders what makes it salty. They amplify each other. Two brains working the same problem from different angles. The first time Zeke straps into ODM gear, he hangs upside down for 6 minutes. He's not failing, he's testing. He identifies that the left hip calibration is off by approximately 2 degrees. The instructor checks. It's off by 1.8. One evening on the barracks roof, Mikasa says, "You never get angry." I get angry, just don't see the utility in displaying it. When I think about that day, I want to tear something apart, don't you? Zeke is quiet for a long time. I think about her every day, but the Titan that killed her didn't do it out of malice. There's something else going on, and I want to understand it before I tear anything apart. That's either the smartest thing I've ever heard or the saddest. Probably both. When the instructor asks recruits what they'll do facing their first Titan, the answers are predictable. Kill it. Avenge my family. Zeke. I want to know why it exists. John snorts. What's to understand? They're monsters. Where do they come from? Why do they only eat humans? Why only active in sunlight? These are systems. Systems have solutions. Maybe the answer isn't a sharper blade. Maybe it's a better question. The year is 851. The Mideast Allied forces have challenged Marley. They think their anti-Titan artillery can even the odds. They're wrong. Eren transforms on a ridge overlooking Fort Slava. The Beast Titan picks up a boulder, not carefully, not precisely, and hurls it into the fortification with a force that turns concrete into a shrapnel cloud. The first boulder kills 40 men. The second destroys the battery. The third is unnecessary, but Eren throws it anyway. Behind him, Reiner, Peak, and Porco advance in textbook formation. But the officers watching from command don't watch the textbook. They watch Eren. They watch the patience in the Beast Titan's posture, as if this entire war is just practice for the real one. They pin medals on him at the ceremony. They call him the Shield of the Motherland. Eldian children wear his likeness on pins, not from admiration, but because association with a warrior eases the boot on their neck. Eren accepts the applause. His speech is exactly what the generals want to hear. Every word tastes like ash. After the ceremony, he returns to his quarters, locks the door, and sits in the dark. He doesn't remove the medals. He doesn't change clothes. He just sits there, running calculations that have nothing to do with the war Marley thinks it's fighting. Every night, he reviews what he knows. The founding Titan is on Paradis. Marley's intelligence reports confirm a Titan shifter emerged during the Battle of Trost, a boy, roughly 15, who sealed the breach. The details are sparse, but Eren has studied his father's history long enough to do the math. Grisha made it inside the walls. Grisha had a mission. And now there's a new shifter on Paradis, who would be exactly the right age to be Grisha's son. his brother, the one who has what Eren needs. Apart, they are incomplete. Together, they could reshape the world. The question is what shape it takes. Eren has his answer. The world that created Marley doesn't deserve to be reshaped. It deserves to be removed. But the boy across the ocean isn't waiting for Eren. He doesn't even know Eren exists. The year is 850, and Zeke Yeager, freshly graduated from the 104th Training Corps, standing on the wall at Trost District when the sky turns yellow for the second time. The colossal titan appears, the gate shatters, titans flood in. Zeke fights methodically, targeting titans near evacuation routes, conserving gas, calling positions. Then, Thomas Wagner gets grabbed. Zeke fires his hooks, swings in, slashes the grabbing hand. Thomas falls free, but Zeke's trajectory carries him too close. The other hand closes around his body. The mouth opens above him. He's swallowed. Darkness. Heat. Dissolving in acid. But something wakes in his spine. A vibration. The blocked memory from the forest doesn't return as images. It returns as feeling. A knowledge that bypasses his brain. You are the attack titan. You are the founding titan, and you are not going to stop here. His teeth find his palm. The titan detonates. A column of golden lightning splits it from the inside. Through the steam, something rises, 15 meters tall, eyes burning with focused intelligence. The attack titan, and every soldier who sees it understands that the rules of the world have changed. Canon Eren's first transformation was a berserker rage. Zeke's attack titan doesn't roar. It stands in the middle of a titan-infested street and assesses, counts, calculates. The first titan is caught by the wrist, swung into a second, thrown into the breach. Two threats neutralized in a single motion. The attack titan advances through Trost like a surgeon, each strike deliberate, each movement conserving energy, already turning toward the next target before the current one hits the ground. He doesn't just fight, he herds. He uses titan behavior patterns to funnel them into choke points where cannon teams are waiting. He collapses a building to redirect a cluster away from evacuation routes. When the boulder needs to be moved, Zeke lifts it, not through rage, through the calculation he made 3 blocks ago. Weight, distance, rate of titan approach. The window before his body gives out. The math works, the boulder drops. Trost is sealed. Humanity's first victory, won by arithmetic. They find him in the rubble, steaming, unconscious, surrounded by the remains of a titan that came from inside his body. The military points cannons. The military police wants him dead. Hanji wants to study him. Erwin wants to use him. It's Armin who grabs Mikasa's arm and whispers, "He was thinking the entire time. He wasn't out of control. If he can do that again, we don't just have a weapon. We have an answer." An answer to what? To everything. At the tribunal, Zeke addresses the court, calmly, still in shackles. "You're afraid of me because I can become a titan? That's rational. But if you kill me, you lose the only data point you have. If you study me, if you let me study myself, we might learn something that saves more lives than my death ever could." Levi offers supervision. Zeke agrees immediately. He joins the Survey Corps with one objective: reach the basement. Erwin sits across from him. "You want to reach Shiganshina? My father hid something there, something he died for. I think it's the answer to what the Titans actually are." Erwin leans back. "I've spent 20 years trying to prove the government is hiding the truth. You're telling me it might be in a basement. I'm telling you it's somewhere. The basement is where I start." Erwin almost smiles. "Welcome to the Survey Corps." The female Titan arc proceeds, the 57th expedition. Annie's pursuit, her capture, and crystallization. Zeke fights not with rage but with tactical traps, leading Annie through choke points, baiting her into positions where capture teams wait. The critical discovery: there are other humans inside Titans, other intelligent shifters. The enemy was never mindless. Year 853. The failed Paradis operations have humiliated Marley. Eren watches generals argue in a briefing room. He's deep into the curse now. Dark circles under his eyes, food tasting less like anything. Maybe 2 years left. He doesn't need Marley's army. He needs one thing: physical contact with the founding Titan holder. One touch, and then the walls come down. The Battle of Shiganshina, the bloodiest day in Survey Corps history. The Survey Corps seals the wall at dawn. The trap springs, Reiner from inside, Bertholdt from above, and the Beast Titan on the ridge with an army of pure Titans. But unlike Canon, where Zeke held the ridge and picked the Survey Corps apart from a distance like a chess player, Eren charges. The pure Titan army surges forward, driven by the Beast's royal-blooded scream. The Beast Titan moves behind them. Within minutes, pure Titans are flooding into Shiganshina itself, and the battle that should have been two separate fights, inside and outside the wall, becomes one massive, shapeless nightmare. Eren has done what Eren always does. He's removed structure from the equation and replaced it with chaos. Erwin dies in that chaos, not in a heroic charge, not making a sacrifice. Just a commander trying to establish order in a battle that refuses to have any. Killed in the streets of Shiganshina 50 meters from the basement that held his life's answer. What follows isn't strategy, it's survival. Hanji's squad cracks the attack titan with thunder spears, while Zeke, in attack titan form, presses the advantage until Reiner falls. Armin sacrifices himself against the Colossal, burning alive as a distraction, while Zeke flanks and cuts Bertholdt from the nape, 2 warriors down, and Levi, threading through gaps in the chaos the entire battle, finds the Beast Titan deep in the streets of Shiganshina, where Eren's own aggression has put him in the worst possible terrain. You can't throw boulders in an alley, you can't swing freely between buildings. Levi takes the beast apart in close quarters, opens the nape, drags the man out, and puts a blade to his throat. The cart titan snatches Eren's body before the blade finishes its work. Without the beast's command, the remaining pure titans lose coordination and are picked off. Peak circles back for Reiner. As the cart titan grabs Reiner's broken body, Zeke, reverted, exhausted, standing in the wreckage, looks up, and on the cart titan's back, barely conscious, is Eren, his brother. Their eyes meet. Eren sees his father's face in the boy below. His mouth moves, barely audible. "I'll come back for you." Then the cart titan is gone. Zeke stands in the street with a stranger's promise in his ears. He doesn't understand it. Not yet. Armin is dying. Levi makes the injection call. No agonizing choice. Just the only option left. Armin eats Bertholdt. Armin inherits the colossal titan. Wall Maria retaken. Over 2/3 of the Survey Corps dead. And Zeke walks to the ruins of his childhood home, carrying a dead man's words he won't understand, until he opens the basement, sees the photograph, and realizes that the stranger who promised to come back is a brother named Eren. He looks at a door that leads underground. The stairs creak. 5 years of sealed darkness. Zeke descends first, lantern in hand. Armin and Mikasa behind him. The key fits. 3 journals, a photograph, and the entire truth. The photograph stops him. A younger Grisha, a woman with gentle eyes, and between them, a boy with sharp features that mirror Zeke's own. On the back, "My first family, Dina, and our son, Eren." The journals unravel everything. Marley, the internment zones, the 9 titans, the 13-year curse, the walls made of colossal titans, and his brother, a beast titan holder, raised behind walls of law and armband, in a world where being born Eldian is a death sentence, served slowly. Armin finds him an hour later, candle burned halfway down. "What did you find?" Zeke tells them everything. When he finishes, Mikasa speaks slowly. "The Titans aren't natural. They're us." "Yes. And you have a brother who's one of their weapons?" Zeke looks at the photograph. "He's not their weapon. He's their prisoner. Same as us. Just a different cage." And then the worst realization, The smiling Titan, the one that walked past a dozen people to reach the Yeager house, the one that lifted Carla with a gentleness that made it worse. Zeke does the math from the journals, the dates, the photograph. Dina's fate on the shores of Paradis. The smiling Titan was Dina Fritz, his father's first wife, Eren's mother. His brother's mother killed his mother. He reads the entry again and again. The symmetry is so cruel it feels designed, as if the paths themselves have a sense of irony that borders on malice. The royal blood in Dina's veins, even in mindless Titan form, pulled her toward Grisha. She didn't find Grisha, she found Carla. Close enough for whatever remained inside that empty shell to reach out and grab hold. 2 mothers, 2 sons, one killed by the other's ghost, and neither son chose any of it. Zeke closes the journal. He locks the drawer. He puts the key around his neck. Then he goes outside and sits in the ruins of Shiganshina and stares at the sky until the stars come out. 3 weeks later, Zeke presents his proposal. Use the founding Titan to sever the connection to the paths entirely. No more Titans, no more curse, no more weapons for anyone to use or fear. I can't activate it alone, I need royal blood, which means I need to find my brother. Armin reviews the plan privately. You're proposing to shake hands with a bomb and hope it doesn't go off. I'm proposing to shake hands with my brother and hope he can hear me over the noise in his head. The voyage takes 3 weeks. Zeke stands at the bow as Marley's coastline emerges from the fog. Mikasa checks her ODM gear. Armin reviews the plan for the 100th time. He enters Liberio wearing an armband stitched on by Hanji. Children branded before they can read. Benches marked Eldian use only. Propaganda posters painting Titans as monsters and Eldians as willing servants. He thinks about Carla saying, "You're already special," over breakfast, and feels the crushing grief of a man who understands finally what it would have been like to grow up without that. This isn't a war zone, it's a system. And systems don't end when the fighting stops. Willy Tybur stages his festival. World leaders gather. He reveals the truth of King Fritz's retreat and the founding Titan's threat. Then he declares war on Paradis. The crowd erupts. Below the stage, Eren waits. He's been in Liberio for months, hiding in plain sight. At 35, the curse has made him look 50. His eyes are the same, that furnace, banked, but burning. The door opens, 15 feet apart. Dim corridor, exposed pipes. Tybur's voice vibrating through the ceiling. Zeke sees a man who looks like their father, but with eyes carrying 35 years of fire. Eren sees a young man with glasses and a calm so alien to his experience, it takes 3 seconds to process. This is the boy who had Carla, who had breakfast and books, and a mother who said, "Just existing is enough." You're Eren. You're Zeke. You have our father's face. So do you. Eren doesn't have time for diplomacy. The curse is eating him alive. If we make contact, the coordinate activates. Full power, the rumbling. We march the wall Titans across the ocean and flatten everything. Every nation that called us devils. Zeke cleans his glasses. 2 seconds bought. If we flatten the world, we don't end the hatred. We prove it was justified. Every propagandist who called us monsters would be right. He meets Eren's eyes. We don't use the founding Titan to destroy the world. We use it to destroy the Titans. Sever the paths, remove the biology. No more curse, no more weapons. Then we see what's left. You think removing the Titans will make them stop? They'll still hate us. They'll find new reasons. That's possible. Then why give up the only leverage we have? Because leverage is just another word for a threat. And I'm tired of a world where the only thing keeping people from killing each other is the promise that we'll kill them first. Something cracks behind the fire. A fraction of a second of exhaustion and sorrow. Then it seals. I won't let them win. Not by surrendering. It's not surrender, it's evolution. It's extinction. Neither blinks. Eren bites his hand. No warning. The Beast Titan erupts through the stage, killing Willy Tybur instantly. The crowd scatters. Eren didn't wait for agreement. He chose violence and trusted the results to justify the method. The Marleyan military fires on their own warrior. The irony is not lost. The weapon they built is the weapon they're dying to. Eren's beast shreds artillery positions with boulders that whistle through the air. The soldiers discover what it feels like to be on the receiving end of a Titan attack. Zeke sees the beast Titan demolishing everything, and beyond the military positions, residential blocks, Eldian homes, the same people Eren claims to fight for. He bites his hand. The attack Titan rises between the beast and the residential zone. This is not how he wanted this to go. The attack Titan and beast Titan collide in the central square, 20-meter impact crater. Zeke tries to grapple, to restrain, not trying to kill, trying to stop. But Eren fights like a man with nothing to lose. Through their Titan connection, Zeke feels his brother's rage. Cold, vast, compressed into unshakable certainty. ODM hooks sing through smoke. Mikasa leads the charge. Armin coordinates from the airship. Jean and Connie provide suppressive support. Sasha picks off snipers from a rooftop. Not everyone came for Zeke's mission. In the years since the basement reveal, a faction has grown within Paradis' military. Soldiers who read Grisha's journals and saw a call to arms. Flock Forster leads them, a survivor of the Shiganshina suicide charge who came back believing the only way to prevent death is to make the other side die first. He's been coordinating with Eren through intermediaries. On the airship, soldiers pull weapons on their own comrades. In the streets, a squad changes direction to support the beast. The message goes out on a frequency Armin isn't monitoring. The rumbling begins tonight. The Survey Corps is fighting on two fronts, the chaos in Liberio and the fracture in their own ranks. The attack Titan takes a direct anti-Titan round, and Zeke reverts to human form in the rubble, bleeding, one lens shattered. Mikasa finds him. We need to go. I need to reach him. He doesn't want to be reached, not tonight. We regroup. They retreat. And on the airship, Sasha Blouse is shot by Gabby Braun, 12 years old, Fury incarnate, Reiner's cousin who snuck aboard. Sasha dies, 19, confused, in pain. Zeke holds the rifle Gabby dropped. He looks at the terrified, defiant child and sees, with horrible clarity, another version of his brother. Another child forged into a weapon by a system that feeds on hate. He sees where the cycle leads, this girl becoming Eren, becoming the next war, becoming the next generation of armbands and ghettos and children taught to kill. He puts the rifle down, a micro moment, but it's the whole thesis of the story compressed into a single gesture. The cycle breaks when someone refuses to be the next link. Eren infiltrates Paradis alone and rallies the Yeagerists. Flock's faction seizes military control overnight. Key installations captured. Officers loyal to the Survey Corps arrested or killed. The government overthrown before breakfast. Eren walks through occupied Shiganshina like a man coming home. He stands in the ruins of the Yeager house, touches the rubble, and feels nothing but certainty. Shiganshina. Again. Always Shiganshina. The brothers meet again. Zeke walks across the open field in human form, unarmed, a deliberate vulnerability. I'm coming to you, not to fight, to talk. One more time. The beast Titan's hand reaches down. Zeke reaches up. Contact. The sky freezes, the wind dies. A golden radiance erupts from where their hands meet, expanding outward through matter like it isn't there. And then, they're gone. They are pulled into the timeless desert of the Path's dimension. Infinite glowing sand, no sun, no time. Zeke materializes first, then Eren, in human form, younger. The curse receded. He looks like the boy in the photograph. Between them, a girl, small, barefoot, eyes carrying 2,000 years of slavery. Ymir Fritz, the original. Waiting for instructions the way she's waited since before recorded history. No one has spoken to her as a person in 2 millennia. Eren steps forward. His royal blood makes the sand vibrate. Ymir, I am of Fritz blood. Begin the rumbling. Destroy every enemy beyond Paradis. Erase them. Ymir begins to move. Somewhere the walls tremble. Wait. Quiet. No royal authority. Just a voice. But Ymir stops, not because she has to, but because the gentleness is so unfamiliar. It registers as novel. In 2,000 years, novelty is the rarest thing in existence. Zeke walks to her, kneels, looks at a child, not a coordinate. Hello. No one has said hello to her in 2,000 years. I want to tell you about someone. Her name was Carla. She was my mother. She was ordinary. She couldn't become a titan or command armies. She made breakfast and sang off-key and had this way of smiling when she was worried that was so obvious it was almost funny. Ymir doesn't respond, but she doesn't look away. One morning she said, "You're already special. You don't have to earn it. Just existing is enough." His voice thins. What she meant was this: you don't have to be useful to matter. You don't have to serve someone to justify being alive. You can just be. And that's enough. He holds out his hand, open, not commanding. For 2,000 years, people with royal blood have stood where I'm kneeling and given you orders. I'm not giving you an order, I'm giving you a choice. The first real choice you've ever had. You can start the rumbling. That you can end the Titans. You can do nothing at all. Whatever you choose, it's yours. His voice drops to a whisper. You're not a slave, Ymir. You never should have been. It starts as a tremor. Her shoulders hitch. And from eyes that have been dry for 2,000 years, tears fall into the glowing sand. She cries the way someone who's forgotten how cries, ugly, hitching, confused. Her hands come up to cover her face because even after millennia, the instinct to hide weakness from a master is the last thing to die. Zeke doesn't look away. He waits, and Eren watches, and the crack in his fire splits a little wider. She chooses Zeke's path. Turning away from Eren's calls for destruction, she looks at Eren. Royal blood. Command. She looks at Zeke. Nothing. No mandate. Just an open hand and a dead mother's words. She takes Zeke's hand. No, Eren screams. I am your king. You answer to me. She doesn't look at him. For the first time in 2,000 years, she makes a choice that belongs to no one but herself. Zeke activates the Founding Titan's final, most absolute command. The power flows through Zeke. He can feel every Eldian, every pure Titan, every wall Titan, every thread of the paths. End it, he says. Not a command. A request. All of it. No more Titans. No more curse. Let it go. Ymir closes her eyes. The threads dissolve. Across the world, the Titan biology begins to unravel and dissolve. It happens everywhere at once. Eldians feel something leave them, a weight they didn't know they carried. Pure Titans dissolve. And inside each one, a human body emerges. Naked. Confused. Blinking in sunlight they haven't seen in years or decades. People who were turned into monsters are becoming people again. The hallucigenia, the primordial organism that powered every Titan for 2,000 years, thrashes at the base of the coordinate. Without hosts, without paths, without Ymir's will, it has nothing to feed on. It flickers, fades, dies, no sound at all. The 9 Titans lose their forms, the human hosts returning to Earth. Peak stumbles against a wall. The cart Titan gone, just a woman now. Annie's crystal shatters from within. She falls to the floor, gasping. Human. Free. Reiner drops to his knees on a ship deck, stares at his hands, no armor beneath the skin, and starts to cry. He doesn't know why. He can't stop. The 3 walls crumble. But there is no rumbling. The wall Titans turn to steam and sand and nothing. Millions of bodies losing cohesion in a slow, silent cascade that takes 3 hours. When it's over, there are no walls. Just open land stretching to the horizon. People stand at the edges of where the walls used to be and look out at the world beyond. Some afraid. Some amazed. Most simply stunned. Staring at open sky with the expression of prisoners seeing daylight for the first time. Eren collapses in the real world. The The beast titan evaporated around him, emaciated. The curse stopped, but the damage already done doesn't reverse. And he can feel the absence, the roaring power that lived in his spine, gone. The silence is deafening. He lies in the crater and stares at the sky. It's blue, empty, no titans in it, no walls framing it, just sky. The same sky from the drawing he made as a child in a kitchen in Liberio. He wanted to burn this world, and now he has to live in it. Mikasa finds him in the crater, blades drawn, ready for a fight that's already over. She sees a thin, broken man, not the monster she expected, not even particularly dangerous anymore, just a stranger with her family's name, lying in the dirt, staring at the sky with the expression of someone who has lost everything and doesn't know what comes after. In another life, she would have known this man. In canon, they grew up together. They shared a home, a war, a bond so deep it defined them both. But this isn't that life. She has never spoken to Eren Yeager. He is Zeke's brother. That's all she knows. She sheathes her blades. The boy from Liberio survives, but the war inside him has nowhere left to go. Eren is taken into custody. Not as a prisoner of war. There's no war left. Not as a criminal. The legal frameworks haven't caught up to what just happened. He's held in a room in Shiganshina with a window and a guard and nothing to do but exist in the silence where his purpose used to be. Zeke visits him. The first conversation between the brothers that isn't about the founding titan or the rumbling or the fate of the world. It's just two men in a room, one sitting on a bed and the other on a chair, trying to figure out what they are to each other now that the thing that connected them is gone. Eren doesn't speak for the first 3 visits. On the 4th, he says one thing. It didn't work. No, Zeke says. It didn't. So what now? Now you live. Eren stares at him. The fire behind his eyes isn't gone. It's directionless. A furnace with nothing to burn. I don't know how to do that. Neither did I, Zeke says. After Mom died, after Dad, after all of it, I didn't know how to just exist without a mission. He adjusts his glasses. Someone told me once that just existing is enough. I didn't believe her for years, but she was right. Eren looks away, out the window, at the sky. He doesn't respond, but he doesn't reject it either. And for Eren Yeager, that might be the closest thing to a beginning. Zeke remains, carrying the weight of a world without monsters. Zeke walks out of the building and stands in the street. Shiganshina looks different without walls on the horizon. Bigger, emptier. The sky stretches in every direction, and there's nothing to frame it anymore. He's 19 years old. The founding titan and attack titan are gone. His mother is dead. His father is dead. His brother is alive but broken in a room behind him. And the world, for all its new freedom, has no idea what to do with itself. Neither does Zeke. But he's used to that. He's been figuring things out since he was 10 years old in a forest with a key and no instructions. He travels back to Marley, walking through the gates of Liberio. The first diplomatic vessel between Paradis and the mainland carries Zeke, Armin, and a small delegation of Survey Corps members. The journey takes 3 weeks. Nobody on board knows what to expect when they arrive. The last time Paradis and Marley interacted, a city burned. Zeke walks through the gates of Liberio, and the first thing he notices is the armbands. Some people are still wearing them, some aren't. The ones who aren't glance around nervously, as if waiting for a soldier to notice. The ones who are wear them like a habit they haven't decided to break yet. Nobody has told them the rules have changed. Because technically, nobody has changed the rules. The armbands are gone in spirit, but the world is struggling to find peace. The internment zone is still standing. The checkpoints are still manned, though the guards look uncertain about what they're guarding against. An Eldian woman argues with a Marleyan shopkeeper, not about permits, but about the price of bread. 2 children play together in a street that used to be segregated. Small things, not peace. The awkward first steps of 2 peoples, standing in the wreckage of a system that failed them both. But the world beyond Liberio is not so gentle. Marley's military is intact and humiliated. The global coalition that declared war on Paradis hasn't retracted that declaration. The Titans are gone, but the fear isn't, and politicians who built their careers on anti-Eldian platforms aren't going to reverse course because of a biological technicality. Nations that were preparing to invade Paradis are now recalculating, not because they've had a change of heart, but because the strategic equation has shifted. Without Titans, Eldians are just people, and it's harder to justify a genocide against just people. Harder, not impossible. Zeke finds the house where Eren was born and raised in hate. The apartment, second floor, third door, empty for years. The kitchen barely fits a table. The bedroom window faces a brick wall. In a cupboard, pushed to the back, a child's drawing, charcoal on scrap paper, 3 figures standing under an open sky, a family, a home without walls. Zeke holds it for a long time. He thinks about the boy who drew this, a child who wanted nothing more than open sky, and the man that boy became, sitting in a room in Shiganshina, staring out a window at the sky he wanted to burn. He realizes his brother wasn't evil, just a product of his environment. Eren wasn't a villain. He was an answer to a question. Take a child, put him in a cage, kill his parents, give him power. What do you expect? Marley took a boy, gave him an armband, told him he was a devil, and said, "Good, we can use that." And not once did anyone ask, "Is he okay?" The answer was always no. Zeke had Carla. Zeke had, "Just existing is enough." That was the difference. Not intelligence, not morality, love, the most ordinary force in the world, and the one that mattered more than all the Titan powers combined. The weight of their swapped destinies hangs heavy in the quiet air. If Eren had been born in Shiganshina, with Carla's kitchen and no armbands, would the fire have found different fuel? And if Zeke had been born in Liberio, with the walls closing in, would he have stayed calm? Questions without answers. The experiment ran once. The controlled variable was blood. The independent variable was love. And the results speak for themselves. Zeke leaves a book on the doorstep, a symbol of a new path. He leaves a hand-bound book on the doorstep. The story of 2 brothers. On the last page, the child's drawing. Not a memorial, a record, a way of saying, this happened, and it matters, and the distance between a man who saves the world and a man who tries to burn it can be measured in breakfast tables and bedtime stories. Progress is not a switch, it's erosion. The armbands become illegal in Marley 3 months after the dissolution. Not out of goodwill, but because the legal argument for them collapses. You cannot mandate identification for a biological threat that no longer exists. The law changes not because hearts change, but because the paperwork stops making sense. The internment zones take longer. 6 months for the official abolition, a full year before the gates actually come down. And even then, the neighborhoods don't integrate overnight. People who've lived their entire lives behind a line don't cross it just because the line disappears. They cross it slowly, one errand at a time, one cautious conversation at a time. Armin spends most of his time at negotiating tables, brokering agreements between nations that still want Paradis punished, and an island that no longer has Titans to defend itself with. The irony is brutal. Zeke removed Eldian's greatest weapon and their greatest shield in the same act. Paradis is vulnerable now, defenseless in a way it hasn't been since the walls went up. The peace holds not because the world is kind, but because the world is tired, and tired people negotiate before they fight. Zeke walks forward, a man who chose empathy over an endless cycle. Zeke doesn't give speeches or accept medals. He works, quietly, methodically, the same way he's done everything since he was a boy who processed grief through data. He consults on the diplomatic efforts. He helps draft the legal frameworks for Eldian integration. He visits universities in Marley and speaks to students about Titan biology. Not as a warrior recounting battles, but as a scientist explaining a system that no longer exists. He's not a hero. Heroes get statues. Zeke gets meeting agendas and policy documents. and the slow, grinding satisfaction of watching the world become marginally less terrible. One negotiation at a time. In time, the Titans become history, then mythology, and then something children struggle to believe was real. Textbooks are rewritten. Not quickly, not without argument, but eventually. Museums are built. The paths are silent. Eldians are simply people now, connected the way all people are. Through choice, through history, through the fragile accident of shared existence. The fear doesn't disappear. It transforms. It shrinks from existential terror to ordinary prejudice, the kind that exists everywhere, between every group, and that can be fought with education and exposure and time. It's a demotion, not an elimination, but it's enough to build on. Zeke reflects on his father's dual lives and the shadows they cast. Grisha lived two lives. In the first, a revolutionary. In the second, a father. Eren inherited the cause. The fire, the mission, the unfinished war. Zeke inherited the correction, the caution, the awareness that passion without wisdom is just a fancier word for destruction. Grisha loved them both. That's the cruelest part. He loved them both, and his love wasn't enough to save either of them from the world he brought them into. Some nights, Zeke lets himself remember the before. The bakery with the blue door, Carla humming off-key, morning light catching the steam from the teapot. Small memories, insignificant in a story spanning 2,000 years. But they're the ones that saved the world, not the founding titan, not the coordinate. A mother who said, just existing is enough, and a boy who believed her. Eren's fire could have warmed instead of burned, and the raw material was extraordinary, a will that bent biology and terrified gods. But fire without direction is an inferno, and his direction was set at 14 when he chose loyalty and the world punished him for it. He deserved better. The world owed him better, and the fact that it didn't give it to him is a failure that belongs to the world, not to him. The cruelty of Marley forged a sword out of a lost boy. The wall, a 10-year-old built to survive his mother's death, became a window. The data became understanding. Zeke didn't save the world because he felt more than Eren. He saved it because he understood more, that the Titans were a system, and systems can be turned off. The memory of the smiling Titan remains a tragic family tether. Dina Fritz, the thread connecting both halves of the Yeager family through loss. Eren's mother, Zeke's mother's killer. A woman turned into a weapon by the same system that turned her son into one. She didn't choose to kill Carla. She was driven by a compulsion she couldn't understand, the cruelest version of the love she felt for Grisha, pulling her toward him like gravity. She found him. In the worst possible way. Zeke told Eren about this during one of those quiet visits to the room in Shiganshina. Told him that the Titan that killed Carla was his mother, Dina. Told him the whole terrible symmetry. Eren sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the floor for a very long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. She was still looking for him. After everything they did to her, she was still looking for Dad. Yes. That's not a monster, that's just someone who loved someone. It was the first time Zeke heard his brother say the word love without it sounding like a weapon. Armin and Mikasa joined Zeke, looking out over the new world. 3 years later, a hill overlooking the port, ships on the horizon, trade vessels, diplomatic missions, exploration craft. The world opening slowly and messily, the way worlds do when people decide to try. They discuss the future. A world where children are not soldiers. Do you think it'll hold? Mikasa asks. Not perfectly, Armin says. But there'll be human conflicts now, not existential ones. That's enough, Zeke says. Is it? It has to be. We can't control what people do with their freedom. We can only make sure they have it. That's either very wise or very lazy. Probably both. Mikasa clutches her scarf, a reminder of the love that survived. The scarf is fraying at the edges. Red. A gift from Zeke in the refugee camps. It means what it always means. Love survives. Not a specific category, just love. The force that makes one person decide another person matters enough to remember. Zeke adjusts his glasses, the glare of the sun no longer blinding. He adjusts them to see. Not to focus, not to narrow the world into data, just to see. Light on water. Simple. Good. 3 years later, Eren lives in a small apartment in Shiganshina. Not a cell. The charges were dropped. When it became clear that prosecuting a man for attempted genocide, with a power that no longer exists, sets a legal precedent nobody wants to deal with. Not freedom either. He's watched, monitored. Man the world hasn't decided what to do with yet. He sits by the window most days, watches people rebuild, watches children play in streets that he would have flattened. He doesn't participate, he doesn't volunteer, he just watches. And some days the fire behind his eyes looks less like rage and more like something he doesn't have a name for yet. Zeke visits often, speaking to the brother he is only now beginning to know. Zeke comes every week, sometimes with food, sometimes with books. Eren never read much growing up, and Zeke has decided, quietly and without announcement, that this is a problem he can solve. The conversations are short at first, functional. How are you? Fine. You're not. I know, but over months they lengthen. Eren asks about the ocean, what it looks like up close, whether it's really as big as the maps say. Zeke tells him it smells like salt and sounds like breathing, and that Armin cried the first time he saw it. Eren almost smiles at that. Almost. One afternoon, Zeke brings the child's drawing, the one from the cupboard in Liberio. 3 figures under an open sky. He sets it on the table between them without explanation. Eren picks it up, stares at it. His hands shake. I forgot I made this. You were drawing the world you wanted. I was drawing a lie. That family doesn't exist anymore. Zeke looks at him. Part of it does. The silence that follows is long. But it's a different kind of silence than before. Not the silence of 2 strangers, but the silence of 2 people who are slowly, painfully, learning to share a room. He tells Eren about the world, about the fragile peace they're building. Reiner's alive, working with a veterans group in Marley, helping former warriors figure out who they are without titans. He's sleeping through the night for the first time in years, apparently. Eren grunts. He and Reiner were warriors together. They understand each other in ways Zeke never will. Annie and Armin are together. She pretends to be annoyed by his optimism, and he pretends not to notice. Sounds exhausting. It's almost cute, in a terrifying sort of way. Something flickers in Eren's expression. Not a smile. Not yet. A muscle memory of one, surfacing from somewhere deep. The armbands are illegal now. Everywhere. Not just Marley. Eren is quiet for a long time. I didn't think that would happen without the rumbling. Neither did the people who made it happen. They did it anyway. The bitterness fades, replaced by something harder to name. Eren's recovery, if that's even the right word, is not linear. There are days when the fire comes back and he paces the apartment like a caged animal, raging at the walls, at Marley, at a world that hasn't earned the mercy Zeke gave it. There are days when he doesn't speak at all. There are days when Zeke arrives and finds him sitting by the window, with the drawing in his lap, looking at it the way a man looks at a map of a country that doesn't exist anymore. But there are also days, increasingly, slowly, when Eren asks questions that aren't about war. When what does bread taste like in Paradis? Is the sky always this blue, or does it rain? What are the people like? The ones inside the walls, the ones who never knew what an armband was. These are the questions of a man who is learning, for the first time in his life, to be curious about a world he isn't trying to destroy. The walls of Liberio are torn down to build new homes. The demolition becomes a national event. Eldians and Marleyans work side by side with sledgehammers. The stone that kept people in is repurposed as foundation for homes that house everyone equally. Zeke watches from a distance. He sees the faces of the people swinging the hammers, not angry, not celebrating, just working. The focused determination of people who have decided the future, is going to be different and are willing to do the labor to prove it. Zeke sees the beauty in the mundane things he once ignored, the unexpected gift of the aftermath, the ability to notice small things, coffee steam, rain on tin, the weight of a book, a fishmonger arranging his display with careful attention. Not art, not skill, just someone caring about something small. Zeke finds that unbearably beautiful. He wonders if Eren will ever learn to see it too. He thinks of Grisha and the burden their father passed down. He forgives his father, not loudly, quietly on a Tuesday morning eating breakfast. For the burden, the secrets, the injection. Then he finishes his breakfast. Because forgiveness, like everything else in Zeke's life, is processed and filed and moved past, not forgotten, integrated, he wonders if Eren will ever forgive Grisha. He doesn't ask. Some questions need to find their own timing. The cycle of revenge has finally been broken by a scholar. 2,000 years. Revenge begat revenge until the whole world was blind. In a quiet moment, Eren sees the sky from his childhood drawing. One morning, Eren leaves the apartment. No announcement, no permission. He just walks out the door and stands in the street in Shiganshina, blinking at the sunlight like a man emerging from a cave. He looks up. The sky is wide, blue, empty, no walls framing it, no borders, no armbands, just sky, stretching in every direction, exactly like the drawing. He stands there for a long time. A woman walks past with groceries. A child chases a dog across the street. Nobody recognizes him. Nobody knows that the thin man standing in the middle of the road once held the power to end all of this. He is anonymous, ordinary, free in the most terrifying sense of the word, free without purpose, free without direction, free without anyone telling him what to burn next. He goes back inside, but he leaves the window open. Mikasa finds a sense of purpose in protecting the new peace. She teaches history now. In a rebuilt Shiganshina classroom, she tells students, the Titans weren't the enemy. The Titans were the symptom. If you want to prevent another Titan age, don't build bigger walls. Build better people. After class, she touches her scarf and thinks that this is what protection looks like now. Not blades. Textbooks and patience. Armin becomes a diplomat. Traveling the world to share their story, Armin walks through capitals that would have killed him a decade ago. He tells their story not as propaganda but as testimony. This happened. This is what it cost. This is what we're building now. He carries the same unshakable belief he's always carried, that people are capable of being better than their worst instincts. It's not always true, but it's true often enough to keep going. The fear of the devils has faded into a cautious cooperation. The fear has changed shape. No longer existential, just the ordinary kind. The kind that fades with exposure, shared meals, children who grow up together and can't remember why their grandparents were afraid. It's not peace. It's the scaffolding that peace might eventually be built on. If enough people decide to keep hammering, Zeke knows that history could always repeat if they forget. We have to remember, he tells Armin, not just what happened, why it happened. The way fear becomes law and law becomes normal, and normal becomes invisible. But for now, the world is quiet, and the air is clear. The constant haze of Titan steam is gone. The sky is blue to the horizon, and the silence, no rumbling, no footsteps, no screaming, just wind and waves and the ordinary sounds of people living their lives. It won't last forever, nothing does, but right now, it's here, and right now is enough. He remembers the day Carla told him he was already special. A kitchen, morning light, steam catching the sun. A mother who saved the world and never knew it. Existing in this world was enough, just as she had said. Yes, he doesn't need to save it again. He doesn't need to analyze it. He just needs to exist in it. As Carla said, as Ymir chose, as Eren is only now slowly beginning to learn. Enough. Eren's royal blood was a gift that became a heavy curse. In another world, that blood would have been inert. Eren could have been a baker or a man who watched sunsets. But in Liberio, Fritz blood is a weapon. and weapons get used. Zeke's lack of royal blood was the freedom Ymir finally needed. The final irony. If Zeke had carried royal blood, his words in the paths would have been indistinguishable from an order. Ymir would have obeyed, conditioning overriding will. But Zeke wasn't Fritz. When he said, "You're not a slave," there was no royal frequency underneath. She heard a person, just a person. The absence of royal blood was the presence of freedom. The sunrise over Paradis is no longer a sign of war. Sunrise means what it means everywhere else now. Morning, coffee, work, the ordinary beginning of an ordinary day. And for the people of Paradis, normalcy is still new enough to feel like a miracle. Zeke sits by the ocean. He comes here sometimes. The ocean that Armin dreamed of. The ocean that separated two brothers for their entire lives. It's just water. It was always just water. The meaning was something people put on it. He picks up a seashell, marveling at its simple, natural design. A small spiral, white with faint pink. It grew in the dark, indifferent to the wars above. He puts it in his pocket, next to the child's drawing. Two artifacts from two worlds. Both reminders of what things look like when you stop trying to control them and just let them be. The world is finally large enough for everyone to live in. The walls were a lie, not because they were made of titans, because they implied the world was too small to share. There's room. There was always room. The walls just made it hard to see. Zeke closes his eyes, hearing the echoes of the past fade. The ocean sounds like breathing. He hears the echoes. Carla's voice, Grisha's voice, Eren's voice, Ymir's silence. They fade like a bell after it's been struck. Not gone, just quiet enough to live with. He carries the memory of everyone who brought them here. Dina's tragedy, Erwin's sacrifice, Sasha's laughter, cut short. All of it, not as burden, as ballast, the weight that keeps him grounded in a world that's still learning to stand. The cycle is over. The world is free. The brothers are still here. He opens his eyes, adjusts his glasses, walks away from the ocean, back toward the port, back toward the world, back toward Shiganshina, where his brother is sitting by a window, watching the sky with an expression that isn't rage anymore, and isn't peace yet, but might, given enough time and enough open windows, become something worth living for. The brothers are alive, both of them, one building a world, one learning to live in it, and neither of them whole, neither of them finished. And the question that lives between them, spoken and unspoken, over meals and through silences, across the table in a small room in Shiganshina, where two men who share a father and a name are trying to become something other than what the world made them. If I'd been born there and you'd been born here, would anything have changed? They already know the answer. That's what makes it tragic. And that's what makes it worth trying anyway.